Your balcony is empty, or maybe it has one sad little pot that hasn't done much in months. Either way, you know it could be so much more. And the only thing standing between you and a lush, beautiful outdoor space is knowing exactly what to plant. That ends today. I'm going to walk you through 15 fast-growing perennials that thrive in pots and small spaces. Plants that come back every single year, without starting over from scratch. And the best part? Some of these will give you visible growth in just a few weeks. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now because this channel is where balcony gardeners, patio growers, and small space plant lovers come to actually get results. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get into it. Stay with me all the way to plant number 11 because that one surprises almost every gardener who tries it. We're starting with one of the most iconic plants in the world, and for good reason: lavender. Specifically, varieties like Hidcote or Munstead for containers. This plant is an absolute overachiever in pots. It loves being slightly root-bound. It loves the heat that a balcony radiates, and it grows quickly once it settles in, typically reaching full bloom size within its first growing season. For zones, lavender thrives in zones 5 through 9. If you're in zone 5, give it a sheltered spot and some winter mulching. If you're in zone 9 or warmer, it may slow down in peak summer heat, but will push back strong in fall. In a pot, use well-draining soil. This plant hates wet feet more than almost anything. A terracotta pot works beautifully. Full sun, at least 6 hours a day, and you'll be rewarded with those long purple spikes that bloom from late spring all the way through summer. And here's what most people don't talk about. The scent on a warm balcony evening is something else entirely. It literally changes the atmosphere of your outdoor space. One pro tip: cut it back by about a third after the first flush of blooms. That's what triggers the second wave of flowers. Now, if you thought lavender was impressive, wait until you see what number 2 does with almost no effort at all. Plant number 2, Black-Eyed Susan. This one is loud, cheerful, and relentlessly fast-growing. From a young transplant, you can expect flowers within the first season, sometimes within 8 to 10 weeks of planting. In a pot on a sunny balcony, this plant absolutely explodes with golden yellow blooms that have that classic dark center. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, which means this is one of the most universally accessible plants on this entire list. Whether you're in the cold north or the warm south, Black-Eyed Susan will almost certainly work for you. It needs full sun and consistent watering. Not soggy, just consistently moist. Use a medium-sized container at least 12 inches deep and pair it with a well-draining potting mix. Feed it once a month during the growing season and it will give you blooms from midsummer all the way into fall. Here's the surprising part that most gardeners don't realize: Black-Eyed Susan self-seeds. Meaning, even if you grow it as a short-lived perennial, it drops seeds into neighboring pots. Next year, you might find little seedlings popping up in places you didn't plant. Free plants. We love that. Don't deadhead every single bloom. Let some go to seed. The birds will love you for it too. Number 3, and I need you to hear me on this one. Daylilies are one of the most underrated balcony plants in existence. People think they need a garden bed for daylilies. They do not. Modern compact varieties like Stella de Oro and Happy Returns were practically designed for containers. They grow fast, they multiply, and in a single season they go from a modest little clump to a full, flowering statement piece. Hardiness zone range, zones 3 through 10. That is an enormous range. Very few perennials are this adaptable. Each flower lasts only one day, that's where the name comes from. But the plant produces so many buds that you get continuous color for weeks, sometimes months. Stella de Oro, for example, will bloom in late spring, take a short break, and then rebloom in late summer. You're getting 2 full shows from one plant. Plant them in a container that's at least 12 to 16 inches wide. They're tough. They can handle full sun to partial shade. Water regularly, but let the top inch of soil dry out between waterings. Here's the thing about daylilies that makes them perfect for small spaces. The foliage is clean, graceful, and attractive even when they're not in bloom. You're not left with an ugly pot between flower cycles. Plant number 4. Let's shift gears to something that thrives on a little bit of neglect. Sedum, also called stonecrop. And if you've ever struggled to keep plants alive through a hot, dry summer, this plant is your answer. Sedum is a succulent perennial, which means it stores water in its thick leaves. It can handle drought, intense heat, reflected sunlight from walls and railings, and poor soil. On a balcony for Ksikamostatin, where conditions can get brutal in July and August, this is a massive advantage. Zones 3 through 9 for most popular varieties. Autumn Joy is probably the most famous variety for containers. It starts with fleshy green leaves and rosy buds in summer, then deepens to copper and bronze in fall. It's a season-long performer. Use a gritty, well-draining potting mix. You can mix standard potting soil with perlite or coarse sand. It wants as much sun as you can give it. A shallow to medium container works fine because the roots don't go very deep. Now here's the thing about sedum that makes it special for small spaces. You can mix it with other plants in the same container, and it won't bully them. It plays well with others. Low-growing varieties cascade beautifully over the edges of pots and window boxes. We're just at number 4, and already you have options for full sun, shade, drought, and abundance. It's only going to get better from here. Number 5 is one of my personal favorites on this entire list, and it's one that a lot of people overlook. Catmint. Nepeta. Not to be confused with catnip, although yes, cats do love it. Catmint is a beautifully ornamental plant with soft silvery green foliage and masses of tiny lavender blue flowers. And it grows fast. It fills out within a single season, cascades softly over the edges of containers, and blooms for an incredibly long time. Often from late spring all the way through fall if you cut it back once mid-season. Hardy in zones 3 through 8, another incredibly wide range making it accessible to most gardeners. The care requirements are almost embarrassingly easy. Full sun to light shade, average to lean soil. This is actually a plant that performs better when you don't overfeed it. Too much fertilizer and you get floppy stems and fewer flowers. Go easy on the nitrogen. Here's the trick that unlocks its full potential. Shear it back by about half right after the first flush of bloom in early summer. It looks drastic in the moment. I promise you, it comes back bushier and more floriferous than before. Container-wise, a medium pot works well. It doesn't need a massive container. Pair it with something upright, like a salvia or a daylily, and you've got a stunning combination planting right on your balcony. Speaking of salvia, let's go right to it. Number 6. Salvia is one of the hardest working plants you can put in a container. Depending on the variety, you get everything from deep purple to red to pink to white, and it blooms for a genuinely long time. For containers and cold hardiness, perennial salvias like May Night, Salvia nemorosa, are outstanding. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Grows quickly and flowers heavily in its first season. In warmer climates, zones 8 and above, you can grow the showier Salvia guaranitica, black and blue, which gets bigger and more dramatic, but needs winter protection in cooler zones. Know your zone before you pick your variety, and I'll say that again throughout this video because it matters. What salvia brings to a balcony container that's hard to match is vertical presence. The flower spikes shoot up clean and tall, giving you that layered, garden-like look, even in a small space. Full sun, well-draining soil, moderate watering. Deadhead spent spikes to keep the flowers coming. Feed lightly every 4 to 6 weeks. And here's the bonus nobody talks about enough. Salvia is a pollinator magnet. If you want butterflies and hummingbirds on your balcony, put a pot of salvia in full sun and watch what happens. We are at number 7, and this one is a sunshine machine. Coreopsis, tick seed, masses of bright daisy-like flowers in yellow, orange, and pink. It blooms early, blooms heavily, and barely stops from late spring to fall. In terms of sheer flower power per square inch of container space, Coreopsis is hard to beat. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Compact varieties like Moonbeam and Sunkiss are ideal for pots. They don't get lanky or fall over, they stay neat and full, and they're incredibly fast growing. Here's what makes Coreopsis special for small spaces. It is heat and drought tolerant. Once established, it can handle dry spells that would stress other plants. That makes it perfect for balconies where you might miss a watering or two in a busy week. Full sun is ideal. 6 to 8 hours. Good drainage is essential. Use a standard potting mix with some added perlite, and you're set. The one thing to stay on top of, deadhead regularly. Pull off the spent blooms every few days, and this plant will reward you with continuous colour. If you let the spent blooms pile up, it'll slow down flowering. It takes 2 minutes. Do it. Now, we're just past the quarter mark of this list. I want to pause here for 1 second and ask, which of these 7 so far is already going on your shopping list? Keep that in mind because things are about to get even more interesting. Number 8, and this one completely transforms the look of a balcony. Creeping phlox. Phlox subulata. Most people grow phlox in garden beds and let it spill down slopes. But in a container? On a balcony? It becomes a waterfall of colour that spills over the edge of your pot and turns a simple container into something spectacular. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, one of the most cold hardy plants on this list. It blooms in early to mid-spring in shades of pink, purple, white and lavender. The bloom period is relatively short, about 3 to 4 weeks, but the explosion of colour during that window is absolutely breathtaking. And outside of bloom season, the dense, evergreen-like foliage looks attractive year-round. Use a shallow to medium container and let it trail. Pair it with something that blooms later in the season, like a coneflower or a salvia, so when the phlox finishes blooming, your other plant takes over the show. That's called succession planting, and it's the secret to a balcony that looks great from April through October. Full sun, good drainage, light feeding, low maintenance. Here's the thing, creeping phlox is one of those plants that gets photographed and stops people mid-scroll when they see it online. It earns that reaction. It's stunning. Alright, we're at the halfway point and I need you to stay with me, because plants 9 through 15 include the ones that work for shade, for beginners who've struggled, and one plant that most people don't even know is a perennial. Don't skip ahead. Every single one of these matters. Number 9 is for everyone who has a shaded balcony and feels left out of the conversation. Astilbe. If your balcony gets limited direct sun, maybe 2 to 4 hours, or faces north, this is your plant. Astilbe produces stunning feathery plumes in pink, red, white, and purple, and it does this in conditions where most flowering plants simply give up. Hardy in zones 3 through 9. Excellent cold hardiness. It grows at a moderate pace, but in a container with consistent moisture and partial shade, it establishes quickly and produces reliable blooms in early to midsummer. The foliage is beautiful even without flowers, deeply cut, fern-like leaves that give any balcony a lush, tropical feel. Container care for Astilbe is a little different from most on this list. It likes moisture. Don't let it dry out. Use a moisture-retentive potting mix, water regularly, and choose a spot that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. That combination is the sweet spot. Feed it once a month during the growing season with a balanced fertilizer. The plumes dry beautifully on the plant and provide visual interest even into fall and early winter. Instead of cutting them back immediately after blooming, leave them up. They add texture and structure to your container display long after the color fades. Number 10. Echinacea, the coneflower. This is one of those plants that does everything. It's beautiful, it's tough, it's medicinal, it attracts pollinators, and it performs like a champion in containers when given the right conditions. Hardy in zones 3 through 9. Wide range, reliable performance. Modern hybrid varieties, like Magnus, Cheyenne Spirit, and the Powwow series, are more compact and container-friendly than the older species types. They reach 18 to 24 inches in a pot, produce those iconic daisy-like flowers with the raised, spiky centers, and bloom from midsummer all the way into fall. Full sun is ideal, though it tolerates light afternoon shade in very hot climates. Average soil, moderate watering. It's drought-tolerant once established. Another big tick for balcony growing where conditions can get harsh. Here's the thing about coneflowers that builds real long-term value. They get better every year. In their first year, they're decent. Second year, they're impressive. Third year, you've got a full, lush, overflowing container that looks like it came straight out of a professional garden shoot. Leave the seed heads on through winter. Birds, especially goldfinches, absolutely love them. It's one of those little joys that makes you glad you're a gardener. Here it is. Plant number 11. The one I told you about at the start. Bleeding heart. Dicentra spectabilis. Now, here's why this surprises most gardeners. When you see bleeding heart for the first time, you almost don't believe a plant that looks this delicate and exotic can grow in a pot, in a cold climate, as a perennial. It looks like it belongs in a tropical greenhouse. It does not. This plant is a cold, hardy, shade-loving powerhouse. Hardy in zones 3 through 9. Spectacularly tough beneath that delicate appearance. The flowers are literally heart-shaped. pink or white, dangling in elegant rows along arching stems. In spring, this plant produces one of the most unique and beautiful displays in all of perennial gardening. And in a pot on a balcony, it becomes a focal point that people will ask about every single time they visit. It needs partial to full shade and consistently moist, well-draining soil. It doesn't like heat. In hot summer climates, the foliage goes dormant by midsummer, which is why you pair it with shade-loving companions that fill in after it rests. A pro tip: plant hostas or ferns in the same container or in neighbouring pots. When bleeding heart goes dormant, they cover the gap beautifully. This is the plant that earns you compliments. Trust the list. Number 12. And if you have ever killed a plant and sworn off gardening, this is your redemption plant, Heuchera, also called coral bells. This plant is nearly indestructible in containers. It tolerates drought, it tolerates shade, it tolerates heat. It comes in the most spectacular range of foliage colours you've ever seen on a non-flowering plant. Burgundy, caramel, lime green, deep purple, silver, almost black. The foliage is the feature, and it's stunning 12 months a year. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, evergreen or semi-evergreen in most climates. It does flower, small, delicate spires in late spring and summer. But honestly, gardeners grow Heuchera primarily for the foliage, and that foliage delivers year-round. In fall, the colours deepen. In winter, it sits quietly and stays attractive. In spring, it explodes with fresh growth. Container care is simple. Partial shade to full shade, though it can handle morning sun. Well-draining potting mix. Moderate watering. Feed lightly in spring. Here's the design secret. Use Heuchera as your anchor foliage plant and build your container combinations around it. Drop in a bright flowering plant next to a dark burgundy Heuchera, and the contrast makes both plants look twice as good. Beginners, intermediates, experienced gardeners, everyone should have Heuchera in their containers. Number 13, and this one is for everyone who wants that dreamy, airy, late-season colour that makes a balcony look like something out of a Provence countryside. Russian sage, Perovskia atriplicifolia. First, it's not actually a sage, and it's not actually from Russia. What it is one of the most atmospheric plants you can grow in a container. It produces tall, silvery white stems, topped with masses of tiny violet-blue flowers from midsummer into fall. The overall effect is soft, hazy, and absolutely beautiful. Hardy in zones 4 through 9, and heat and drought tolerant once established, this plant thrives in tough conditions. In containers, it grows to about 2 to 3 feet, which is perfect for balcony scale. It needs full sun and very well-draining soil. This is a plant that actively suffers in wet, heavy soil, so drainage is non-negotiable. Here's the growth tip. Cut it back hard in early spring, almost to the ground. It regrows fast and strong, and that hard cut is what gives you the best structure for the season. The aromatic foliage is a bonus. When you brush against Russian sage, it releases a herby, earthy fragrance that is genuinely lovely. On a summer evening, in a container, on your balcony, it's a sensory experience. Number 14, and this plant brings something to a balcony that most others on this list can't offer. Fragrance combined with that perfectly cottage garden look. Dianthus, also known as pinks or carnations for the taller varieties. For containers, the compact perennial types are ideal, varieties like Firewitch, Kahori, and the Paint the Town series. These grow quickly, flower heavily in late spring and early summer, and often rebloom if you deadhead faithfully. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, cold tolerant and reliable. The flower colours range from pure white to every shade of pink to deep crimson, often with contrasting edges or centres, giving them that jewel-like, detailed look that photographs beautifully. And the scent, a sweet, spicy, clove-like fragrance, is one of the best among all perennial flowers. Full sun, excellent drainage, slightly alkaline soil if possible. If your potting mix is on the acidic side, a small amount of garden lime mixed in works well. Container care tip. Dianthus hates wet soil at the crown, the base of the plant where stems meet roots. Water at the base, not overhead. Keep the crown dry and the roots moist. That one habit prevents most of the disease issues that take Dianthus plants down. As a mass planting, 4 or 5 plants in a long window box in full sun, Dianthus creates something genuinely extraordinary. Fragrant, colourful, fast-growing, and perennial. It belongs on this list. And we close this list with one of the most dramatic, most show-stopping plants you can put in a container. Number 15, Agapanthus, the lily of the Nile. This plant looks expensive. It looks like something from a luxury hotel courtyard or a professional botanical garden. And yet, it grows in a pot. It grows fast. And in the right climate, it comes back bigger and bolder every single year. Hardy in zones 7 through 11 for most varieties. If you're in zone 6 or colder, you can still grow it, but bring the container inside or into a garage for winter. The evergreen varieties are slightly less cold hardy than the deciduous ones, so in borderline zones, choose a deciduous variety for better winter survival. The flowers are absolutely spectacular. Round globes of small trumpet-shaped blooms in purple, blue or white, held high on tall stems above strap-like foliage. They bloom in midsummer, and each bloom lasts for weeks. The architectural presence of Agapanthus in a pot is unlike almost anything else on this list. In a container, Agapanthus actually blooms better when it's slightly pot-bound. Don't rush to repot it. Let the roots fill the container. That slight stress is what triggers the most prolific blooming. Full sun to partial shade. Well-draining soil. Water regularly during the growing season, less in winter. If you want one plant that makes your balcony look like it was designed by a professional landscaper, this is it. All right, 15 plants. Let's run them back fast. Lavender for fragrance and sun. Black-eyed Susan for season-long golden blooms. Daylily for endless summer colour. Sedum for drought-proof, no-fuss coverage. Catmint for that soft, flowing, pollinator-friendly look. Salvia for vertical drama and hummingbirds. Coreopsis for a sunshine machine that almost never stops. Creeping phlox for a waterfall of spring colour. A stilbe for shaded balconies that deserve beauty too. Echinacea for a plant that gets better every single year. Bleeding heart for the plant that stops visitors in their tracks. Heuchera for year-round foliage colour and beginner-proof resilience. Russian sage for late-season atmosphere and fragrance. Dianthus for cottage garden charm and that gorgeous clove scent. And Agapanthus for the plant that makes your balcony look like a professional designed it. Now here's what I need you to do. Don't try to plant all 15 at once. That's not the move. Pick 2 or 3 from this list that match your zone, your sun conditions, and your style. Start there. Get those established, then build. Balcony gardening is not a single project. It's a living, growing thing that evolves with every season. And every plant you add, every pot you fill, every morning you spend out there with your coffee surrounded by something beautiful that you built. That's what this is all about. If this video helped you, and I genuinely hope it did, give it a like. It takes 1 second and it means more than you know for getting this content in front of other gardeners who need it. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, which plant from this list are you planting first? I read every single comment and I'll reply. Your answer might also help someone else in the community figure out where to start. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it right now. We post every week on balcony gardening, container growing, small space plants, and everything you need to turn whatever outdoor space you have into something you're genuinely proud of. Hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and you won't miss a single video. Next up, watch this video right here. It's going to show you exactly how to set up your containers for maximum drainage and growth, so every single plant on this list performs at its absolute best. I'll see you in the next one. Keep growing.